Welcome back to today's build. I'll be your guide to this wonderful game we all love. Let's get started.
Today's deck hits like a truck. His name is Optimus Prime, and this is Primetime. On his backside, the side we'll be casting, Optimus is a 6/8 that bolsters 2 whenever we attack, not just when he attacks, so this ability can be used the turn he comes down, which means we'll want creatures in play before we play Optimus. Once we connect, he'll turn it into his front side, which bolsters 1 each turn, not just on our turns, effectively turning the passage of time into 1/1 counters, so we'll want creatures that can wear those counters well. We'll also note that on his front side, much like Atraxa, Optimus is a commander that generates value over time, so our first objective during the game needs to be getting him out on the field. Unlike Atraxa though, the setup cost for Optimus is much lower and easier to justify, as we'll soon see. First, we have a whole category of cards to cut. Those artifact creatures with modular that keep showing up on EDH rec. The only thing these creatures do is keep our counters on the field, and only if we run a bunch of artifact creatures along with them. Every one of these cards is only good here if they're all in the deck together, and Optimus doesn't say anything about running artifact creatures. Instead, we'll be playing creatures where our counters actually do some work for us. Alongside these modular creatures comes a list of cuts that were really only ever here in the deck because of the high counts of artifact creatures. Next, we're cutting the Autobots. These are cute, and some of them definitely have synergies with Prime's counters, but never anything really good enough to justify their presence here. Next, we're taking out Swords to Plowshares and Dispatch. The thing about our board is that it's big everywhere except our commander, so when we win, it's likely through combat damage, not commander damage. So the life gain on swords means something here. And since we already cut the modular creatures, Dispatch is harder to justify. Instead, we'll play Serum Snare to proliferate and remove. Padim doesn't belong here. She's never belonged here. In fact, I really can't find a deck she should belong in. We're not playing enough artifacts for the hexproof to matter, and while the card draw is nice, we can do so much better. The 1/1 counter lords, Abzan Battlepriest, Einok Bondkin, and Abzan Falconer are perfectly adequate, but kind of unimpressive. Even if our whole board had all of these abilities at once, the most relevant one is flying. These abilities are doing the most work when our board is wide and has counters, but when our board is wide, it's harder to control where the counters that Optimus gives us actually go. Herald of Secret Streams and Thundering Raiju will be cut for these same reasons. So what's our timeline? On turn 1, we can play Benthic Biomancer, Soul Ring, and Esper Sentinel. Turns 2 and 3 are really important, so pay close attention. Turn 2, we're playing Enthusiastic Mechanaut, Stormscape Familiar, and Sten Paranoid Partisan, choosing artifacts. We're also playing every Signet and Talisman this deck can legally play, and we need at least one of our cost-reducing creatures in our opening hand for this to work, so mulligan aggressively. Turn 3, we're playing Foundry Inspector, Starnheim Courser, and any other cost-reducing creatures we can get our hands on in the future for this slot, as well as whatever ramp we didn't deploy on turn 2. Turn 4 is our target for Optimus. With a single piece of ramp and a creature that reduces his cost, we can cast him on his backside and immediately go to combat with our cost reducer, who will get bolstered and have trample to immediately transform him. With Optimus online, we'll put 4 counters on our board every round of the table. With a board that gets bigger and bigger, we can make board wipes like Deafening Clarion, Radiant Flames, and Thunderwave be one-sided. And with a lot of these effects, we'll have enough mana left over afterwards to double spell into cards like Dusk Legion Duelist, Axguard Artisan, and Lion Sash. But things really heat up when we run out Constable of the Realm, Glenelendra Archmage, and Cytoclast Manipulator to exile, counter, and steal all of our opponent's things, slowing them down and buying us more time for more 1/1 counters. We're also playing Etched Oracle, Mindless Automaton, and Hopeful Initiate to draw cards and control where some of our counters are going. That being said, we don't want a ton more creatures in this deck. The more creatures that we have on board, the harder it is to control where those counters go, and the less impressive our effects become. Cards like the Duelist and Constable are at their best when they're happening each turn, after all. So we're playing One with the Machine, Rush of Knowledge, and Vivisurgent's Insight to refill our hand and take advantage of how top-heavy Optimus is, as well as spread out more counters. We'll also play Mesmerizing Doze, Volt Charge, and Serum Snare to spread out our counters and slow our opponents down, buying us more time for more counters. With a board that's wide but not too wide, and tall but not too tall, we'll close out the game with a Chroma's Will or Sigarda's Summons, give our board evasion and the boost it needs to smash through our opponent's life totals. This deck is kinda nutty. The fact that Optimus puts counters on the board every turn and not merely your own turn makes his front side into a hard-to-remove menace, and his backside dodges most removal as it is. That said, commanders that generate value over time tend to want the game to go long, so they can never really approach this 9 to 10 range, and when they do hit speed bumps, it's much harder to recover. Any board wipe that exiles effectively takes us out of the game, exiling us as well. When it fails hard, but on the whole, this deck is reliable, consistent, and deadly. This deck is a certified 7. If you like this video, the next decks I'll be looking at can be found here in no particular order, so if you see something you like, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them, and check out the playlist in the top left for more. Thanks for watching!